The NFL season officially kicks off tonight, but the Patriots opener against the Raiders is 3 days away. Dan Roche caught up with CBS News Boston's Joe Weil to talk about the key Patriots storylines ahead of the team's season opener.
All right, we're joined by Mr. Exclusive himself, Dan Roche, as we talk about the Patriots ahead of their opener against the Raiders. And Dan, you are Mr. Exclusive. You had a chance to talk to Robert Kraft yesterday, and your question about the Bill Bellichick statue right now, all the talk of New England about there being eventually a Bill Belichick statue outside of Gillette Stadium. What was your reaction when you heard Robert Kraft talk about that to you, about eventually building one right next to Tom Brady's?
Well, it was interesting, Joe. Going into the interview, you wanted to talk about the opener and just how exciting it was to have that back, have football back. He was so excited about it, so overjoyed. And then we haven't heard from him since the statue went up with Tom Brady, so that's a logical follow-up. And then I just happened to ask him, I think, what a lot of fans have been wondering too, because of the relationship with some of the problems that they have had, kind of the back and forth barbs or what have you. I think everyone wanted to know, would there be a Bill Belichick statue? And, he was very forthcoming about that, very adamant about that, to say that, yes, he wants to sit down with Bill Belichick when he's done his coaching career, like Brady was done his playing career, and talk to him about putting a statue up in that plaza right next to Tom Brady. So I thought it was very interesting and good to hear, too, because of how great that, trio has been of Kraft, Bellichick, and Brady in bringing 6 Super Bowl championships to New England.
Yeah, obviously very fitting for there to eventually be one for Bill Belichick, for how much he did for this organization. We're now 2 head coaches away from Bill Belichick as we kick off the Mike Vrabel era here in a couple days. And Mike Vrabel yesterday, Dan, talking about Christian Gonzalez and his week 1 availability. Obviously, he's dealing with a hamstring injury right now, and it's still unknown as if he's going to play in week 1. He fielded so many questions about it. How concerned should fans be about Christian Gonzalez here for week 1 against Las Vegas?
Well, concern for week 1, no question about that. If he hasn't practiced by Wednesday, he's been out since July 28th with that left hamstring injury. And we've seen him a lot at practice. Every day at practice, he showed up, but he just hasn't been able to work out. Now, he has done some workouts down on the lower conditioning field and what have you, but it's just taking time. And that's the problem with these types of injuries, Joe. You know that with the groin, with the hamstring, the calf. It's just one of those things where you can feel great, and then all of a sudden you go out and you have to do it 100%, and it just hurts. So he may have had a re-injury to it. We just don't know. We haven't heard really from Christian, so I kind of feel bad for him too. I mean, everyone's putting so much pressure on him to play, but what are you going to do? It's one of those things. Do you want me to go out and play with a hamstring that's not 100%, that's 80%? And yes, injuries are a part of it too. But if he goes out and makes it worse, then he's lost for another 4 to 6 weeks or a couple of months, and that's biting into the season. So I think they're trying to do the right thing, and it's got to be tough for Mike Vrabel because he wants him out there, and Christian wants to be out there too. So it's tough for everybody involved here, but you got to do the right thing. So if you look at it on paper, he hasn't practiced, since July 28th. He didn't practice on Wednesday. We'll see if he can get out there on Thursday. But right now, the odds aren't good that he's going to play in the opener against the Vegas Raiders.
Which is not a good sign for a Patriots team that, if you talk about biggest concerns, it's just depth overall around the roster. There are good players, but it's that depth that's obviously a concern for this group. Let's switch gears now to the offensive side of things. And I want to talk about Stefon Diggs because he's a couple days away from making his Patriots debut in the regular season, Dan. What are your impressions of the experience thus far with Diggs in the fold here in New England?
I think he's been great. I mean, I think he's doing everything that's been asked of him. I think he may have had a little chat with Mike Vrabel about, the whole incident when he was out on a little boat early on in the off season. But I think other than that, he's been a role model for these wide receivers. And they all talk about how big of a leader he's been and what he's brought to the table as far as leadership is concerned from the wide receiver room. And then watching him, I thought he looked good going back to June's mini camp. That's when I thought of wow, he was impressive then inside the bubble practicing and running routes and just looking good, making his cuts, looking faster than any other wide receiver that the Patriots have. So I think he's been good. He's bought in. I think he's been out there. He's worked hard. He hasn't played in the preseason. I think that's just more Mike Vrabel and the training staff being cautious with him. But I think you're going to get a 100% Stefon Diggs for the opener against the Raiders, and that's huge for Drake Maye, Josh McDaniels in this offense.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about Drake Maye because obviously it's a big year, too, coming up for Drake Maye. And obviously he just didn't have a lot of pieces around him in year one, yet we saw some flashes. And that's why people are so excited about what he can bring in year 2. But what do you think is a realistic expectation for the leap that he can take in his second season here in the NFL?
I think it's just guiding the offense and scoring points, right? I don't know what my expectations are beyond that, and that's a lot, right? That's what you want out of him. Promising. Someone said that to me last night, and I said, like, that's a great word to describe his first year. It was promising. We saw a lot of that, of his ability to scramble. For me, it's not his ability to scramble per se as much as his ability to step up in the pocket. And that's what I saw during training camp several times when they had to have certain situations, especially in the clutch. You know, there were some 2-minute drills, last play, got to have it, practices that they had against the Washington Commanders and the Minnesota Vikings. And I thought he did a good job of stepping up into the pocket and making the proper throws. So there's going to be some ups and downs with him, yes. But I like the combination of him and Josh McDaniels. I think that they can do a lot, and I think that they can score points. And that's what it's all about, Joe, right? They got to put points up on the board. So I don't know how many interceptions he'll end up with, turnovers or what have you. The bigger concern I have is how many points can he put up with this offense, keep those turnovers to a good limit. But I just want to see some growth of here in year 2, and especially early because he's got the weapons that we talked about, like Diggs and Pop Douglas and Trevion Henderson, the rookie, and Kyle Williams, the rookie. He's got a good tight end trio. So I think everything says that he should be a go and ready to go here, and they're going to run the football too. So I'm curious to watch him. I think he'll be very good for this football team.
And Mike Vrabel's hoping that he does take that leap in the second season, or in his second season, because in Mike Vrabel's first season here, he's taking over an organization that has finished 4-13 back-to-back seasons. Dan, how optimistic should Mike Vrabel be about his team's chances of getting back to the postseason, first time they would be doing so in 4 years?
Well, I think maybe that's too far right now, Joe, for this team. I think Vrabel and I think the rest of his staff and the players, they're thinking about Sunday's opening game against the Raiders because I think so many things can happen in an NFL season, and I think we're all guilty of it. But I think you just got to get back to game by game. How do things stack up? How do they look? They play the Raiders, and then they got to go to Miami. It's a tough game. We all know that. But I think what they've established is they've been well taught, well coached, well disciplined. I think they look good. You can see that when you watch them every day in practice. Situational football, second half conditioning. Mike Vrabel talked about that this week. So I think they're doing all the right things to get themselves into position to play winning football. And now they're just going to go through it as a group and learn from it. We've seen under Bill Belichick, we've seen under Gerard Mayo, teams that have a hard time, doing the little things that matter and help you win football games. And I think that's what Mike Vrabel wants to see. And if you can start stacking up those little things, then maybe it can lead to bigger and better things. I'm not a predictions guy, but I think that they'll be better than last year. And I think that they'll be in every single game. And if that's the case, give me Vrabel X's and O's wise with any head coach in the National Football League. So it's promising. Will it mean playoffs? I don't know. But that, and I want to see improvement as the season goes along. But depth is certainly a big issue with this team.
Final thing before we let you go, Dan. How do you think they match up against Las Vegas? This is a completely new-looking team with the Raiders. They got Ashton Genty into the fold, new head coach in Pete Carroll, new quarterback, too, in Geno Smith. How do you think they match up against them?
That's the unknown, right? I mean, it's who knows? Both teams come in off 4-13 seasons. Both teams come in with brand-new head coaches. Pete Carroll, who's been there, done that. As the head of the Raiders and, of course, winning in Seattle. Mike Vrabel has been there, done that, winning with Tennessee. And now they're here. We got quarterbacks that I think interesting, a second-year promising quarterback in Drake Maye against a veteran, Geno Smith, who knows what he's doing. And he's going to look for those mismatches from Jacoby Myers, some of the speed they have at wide receiver, to one of the best tight ends in all of football in Brock Bowers. And then we all get to see what Ashton Genty is all about in the NFL. How good is he? If he's really good and the Patriots have a hard time containing him in the run, it's going to be a long day. So those are some of the challenges. We just don't know how they match up against the Raiders yet, because I don't think anybody knows how they match up with the Raiders, and I don't think the Raiders know how they match up with the Patriots. That's the intrigue of Week 1 in the NFL season, because nothing is really on tape. The preseason, you can kind of throw that out. So I think it's interesting. It's going to be fun to watch and see how this one unfolds.
Yeah, really excited to see how the first game of the Mike Vrabel era goes here against Las Vegas at Gillette Stadium. Dan, appreciate the time. Look forward to watching you and the rest of the team for the coverage on Sunday.
Always a pleasure, Joe.